The watchtower was very much the center of my life. All my decisions were made with the watchtower teachings and instruction in mind. Education, career, marriage partner, family planning were all affected by the advice that the watchtower gave. All thinking was done for me. I merely parroted what the watchtower taught.
Majalah Menara Pengawal, edisi 15 November 2013, menjelaskan hal-hal penting yang perlu kita ingat sambil kita bersiap-siap untuk menghadapi serangan dari kumpulan bangsa-bangsa yang juga disebut Gog dari Magog. Nah, saya akan mengutip kata-kata dari artikelnya. Pada saat itu, petunjuk dari organisasi Yehuwa mungkin tampaknya tidak masuk akal dari kacamata manusia. Tapi, kita semua harus siap menaati arahan apapun yang kita terima, tidak soal kita setuju atau tidak, karena hal itu akan menyelamatkan kehidupan kita. Sekaranglah waktunya bagi siapapun yang mengandalkan pendidikan duniawi, hal-hal materi, atau lembaga-lembaga manusia untuk mengubah cara berpikir mereka. Kata-kata tadi sangat penting untuk diterapkan, khususnya sekarang ini.
Hi. I have been reading from a document that was prepared for a custody case, just relating my personal experience as a Jehovah's Witness, what it was like growing up as a witness and leaving the watchtower. My case history, if you like. So I'm going to continue with the second part, and there will be a third part. We all pioneered for a time. I'm talking about myself and my siblings. My older brother, until he married and started a family. My sister, till she was expecting her first child, and then again when her first 2 children started school. I pioneered upon leaving high school and continued until I was married, and found it too tiring to be a wife, hold a part-time job, and devote 90 hours in field service. I cut back to devoting an average of 30 hours a month, feeling guilty because I did not have the energy to do more. My husband David and I made the decision not to have any children, because we believed that the end of the world was just around the corner, and we should devote all our energy to doing as much as we could to save others. We believed we could have our family later, when God's new system of things, paradise on earth, became a reality. The watchtower was very much the center of my life. All my decisions were made with the watchtower teachings and instruction in mind. Education, career, marriage partner, family planning were all affected by the advice that the watchtower gave. For example, I give you a quote from the Awake magazine of November 8, 1974. I would have been 14. It said, "Today there is a great crowd of people who are confident that a destruction of ever greater magnitude is now imminent. The evidence is that Jesus' prophecies will shortly have a major fulfillment upon this entire system of things. This has been a major factor in influencing many couples to decide not to have children at this time. They have chosen to remain childless so that they would be less encumbered to carry out the instructions of Jesus Christ to preach the good news of God's kingdom earth-wide before the end of this system of things." And then they reference Matthew 24:14. Now back to my own statements. "For as long as I can remember, my father had been saying, probably weekly in my hearing, 'Well, it can't be very long now, no more than a couple of years before the end will come.' Although I was unaware at the time, I now believe being a Jehovah's Witness gave me an inferiority complex and made me rather high-strung and nervous. All thinking was done for me. I merely parroted what the watchtower taught. Everyone was expected to believe exactly the same about every issue. You could not hold or voice a different opinion than the organization. There are only 2 sides in the world, according to the watchtower: God's, the equivalent of the organization, and Satan's, everyone else, religious and non-religious. No one else has the truth. No one else knows God or is loved by God other than Jehovah's Witnesses. Everyone not in the organization will be destroyed at Armageddon, including ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who leave the organization." Now I have a few more quotes again. The Watchtower of March 15, 1969 stated, "The influence and spirit of this world is to get ahead and to make a name for oneself. Many schools now have student counselors who encourage one to pursue higher education after high school, to pursue a career with a future in this system of things. Do not be influenced by them. Do not let them brainwash you with the devil's propaganda to get ahead and to make something of yourself in this world. This world has very little time left. Any future this world offers is no future. Wisely, then, let God's word influence you in selecting a course that will result in your protection and blessing. Make pioneer service, the full-time ministry, with the possibility of Bethel or missionary service, your goal. This is a life that offers an everlasting future." I would have been 9 when that was written. Then in 1990, there's this quote, "The clergy are part of Satan's world." John 8:44. "But it is a world that God will soon crush out of existence." Then another quote from the Watchtower of July 1992 stated, "The obligation to hate lawlessness also applies to all activity by the apostates. Our attitude toward apostates should be that of David, who declared, 'Do I not hate those who are intensely hating you, O Jehovah? And do I not feel a loathing for those revolting against you? With a complete hatred I do hate them. They have become to me real enemies,'" quoting Psalm 139, verses 21 and 22. Modern-day apostates have made common cause with the man of lawlessness, the clergy of Christendom. Apostates capitalize on errors or seeming mistakes made by brothers who take the lead. Our safety lies in avoiding apostate propaganda as though it were poison, which in fact it is. This is me again, I sincerely believed this was God's organization until about 1987. My heart and mind were fully convinced and set on a future paradise coming to the earth. In 1986, my husband David resigned as an elder and stopped attending meetings at the Kingdom Hall due to difficult challenges raised by people who we had been trying to recruit. These challenges were about the Watchtower's credibility and authority. In an effort to regain my husband to loyalty to the Watchtower organization, I began researching the Watchtower organization's history. I started reading original materials of the founder and the various presidents. I had never done this before, nor was I encouraged to. The history of the Watchtower was frequently presented in current literature, and I had always believed it to be accurate and honest. They told me to be honest, and I assumed they were. We were told not to read outside the Watchtower publications, which means Jehovah's Witnesses must trust the Watchtower completely for their knowledge. Here is a quote that states this reasoning. In the Watchtower of June 1967, it said, "In Jehovah's organization, it is not necessary to spend a lot of time and energy in research, for there are brothers in the organization who are assigned to do that very thing." Again, me. I entered into this research confident of getting satisfying answers to meet all the challenges raised. My research not only confirmed the truth of the allegations, but unearthed additional problems. I cannot express how shattering this was to me. For months I felt a sinking dread, then disillusionment, then hurt and betrayal. Also, I was afraid. To whom could I talk? Who would listen? Who would believe me? It was too explosive to present to my family. I was in constant fear of confrontations about David's departure. I feared we would be disfellowshipped. My waking hours were a nightmare. Sleep was a refuge. I went into depression. In a desperate effort to communicate these serious concerns to my family and our friends in the Watchtower, David and I put together 200-plus pages of research, quoting directly Watchtower publications and the Watchtower's translation of the Bible. Within weeks after 2 members of my family received the information, we were disfellowshipped for apostasy. We were never formally charged before our expulsion. Once we were disfellowshipped, all contacts with my family and friends in the organization were severed. I cried myself to sleep every night for a year. My whole world had fallen apart. I no longer had a past. David and I had to start life again at ages 38 and 28. Up to a few years ago, I couldn't read that paragraph without crying again. But in connection with the reading I just did of Bergman's book, I again see a lot of parallels in his discussions about people and why they have mental issues, depression, suffer from these kinds of things. So the ones that I could see just in this section that I read to you were guilt, I was not doing enough, decision making, the techniques of brainwashing and mind control are evident in that you're conditioned to believe certain things, and they're serious things. They take it out of your own hands to make decisions about your life, or at least push one so that you feel you have to do what they say. Okay, what are some of the other things? The control of information. The fact that as witnesses we don't read outside of the Watchtower materials, and we're encouraged not to consider all of that as bad for you. Even the flow of information of our own literature is controlled by the Watchtower, and now apparently they're deleting certain publications from access to witnesses. Fears, depression, all the emotions of disillusionment, hurt, and betrayal. All of those are mentioned in Bergman's book as factors that have caused witnesses to have a high rate of mental illness. I will continue with the last section of the material that I wrote for this custody case, just a testimony of my own experience. I'm going to link to two videos that are featuring sections from Ray Franz's book, In Search of Christian Freedom. One is called Love or Fear, Pressure, Pride, How the Governing Body Drives Jehovah's Witnesses. And the second one, Ray Franz says JW's conformist, deaf to critics, classic mind control systems. And at the end of that one, you'll see a link to another one that you probably should follow up on. It's Ray Franz on Stephen Hassan's book, Combating Cult Mind Control. Does it apply to JWs? Till the next time.